Dice are an integral part of board games. Most of board games seem to have dice nowadays, whether they are 4-sided or 12-sided. It doesn't matter for today's example, in which we will figure out how to animate dice. I'm going to give two examples, different examples on how you can do it, but in the end the animation tool is a sandbox, so you are able to create any sort of dice animations you want. I'm going to show a very quick one, how you can create a sleek looking animation that doesn't take a lot of time, and then a bit more complex and advanced one that gives a bit more flair. And it's good to note at this point that once you do one good dice animation, you can copy that animation and reuse it as you wish later on. Now let's get started. Let's start with the simple one. Let's open up the content block. I seem to have a few objects here, so let me get rid of them first. Delete. Now I already have the dice object on my library, so I'm gonna drag it here. Let's go a bit closer and have a look. Of course it's floating at this point, so it's always good to remember to drop the dice down in ground level so it doesn't leave funny shadows when it's doing its animations. I'm gonna use snap to ground option for that. Now let's take a look from a different angle. This is a good angle, so it's straight from the side, so animating it is a bit easier. Let's open up the timeline and start animating. Now what I want to do is have the dice on the table, and then it will just go up and flip and come down with another face showing. Of course it doesn't look realistic as it's not thrown, but for a dice tutorial that's a very perfect way of doing an animated die. So let's first choose the die and start recording animation segments. I'm gonna do these segments little by little, one by one, and in the end I am going to make sure that the dice lands on the exact same spot that where it left off, and that I'm going to do is by aligning the die in the middle. And of course when it's on ground level, whenever I drop it, it will find its place. So I'm just making sure that it's aligned in the middle. So let's start recording animations. I'm going to lift it up and turn it little by little. Like that. Then it goes up more, turns, and I think I'll take it up once more. There, and then I'm gonna start taking it down. Like that. And down we go, like that. And then another, at this point I'm gonna snap it to ground. And now you can see when it continues the movement, it doesn't hit flat on the ground. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bounce it a little bit so it finds its place. So it's on ground level now. I'm going to save it here. So what it looks like now, it's a bit slow. Let's make it a bit faster by subtracting the time from each segment. Still slow. There we go, and now we'll do a little bounce. So it's on that spot, so it falls to the ground, then bounces a little bit and keeps turning. Like that. And then when it falls to the ground, it will align nicely there. Let's see how that looks. And then I'm gonna put a loop on so it keeps bouncing up all the time. Let's save the tutorial angle and see what it looks like in the preview. And that's a perfectly valid dice throw. Of course I could have it show another face, so it would land on 4, but that's just manipulating the animation a little bit. But this is perfectly fine to use in a tutorial. Of course it could be faster, that's a bit laggy of course, but that's very easy to fix when you just choose the object and subtract the time a little bit. Nice. And now if I would want to, I could, for example, create another die, drop it to the ground level, then copy this animation and paste it here. Now I have 2 dies doing the exact same thing. And you can copy the animation here, then go to another block and paste it. Or you can copy the animations, of course, with the Smart Objects tab that is in the inspector here. As you can see, this dice has a 9 segment animation set, and you can copy it and paste it to an object. Okay, let's figure out the other way of doing a dice throw, which someone might say it's a bit more natural when somebody actually throws the die. So let's have a die thrown from outside the screen when it comes to the scene and bounces a few times. Let's first go a bit closer. I think that's a good landing spot. I'll take the view a bit from above, so it looks a bit better when it comes bouncing and it doesn't need to travel that far. That's a good angle. Let's save it. Okay, let's start working with this die. I'm going to duplicate a copy. This is just for reference where I want the die to stop when I start moving it around. I'll delete that a bit later on. So let's first take this outside the screen, make sure that we don't see it, and raise it high above so you don't see the shadow and it comes there naturally. Let's see where it is. Yes, now we can't see the die. That is good. So we will first start animating this. And as before, record animation, and we can take it a lot closer already. And let's give it a spin. So now it's already a bit animated. It's a bit too far, but that doesn't really matter. We can continue animating, have it twist more. Good. Now it's in a completely wrong place. That is very easy to fix. We can just move the whole object like this, and the animation segment will follow. Now it's a bit closer to the ground. Let's see where it's coming from. There, good. Let's continue animating. So now it goes already to ground level, and we'll twist it a bit more, like that. That can be a lot faster as well. It doesn't need to spend that much time outside the screen. Why I have it in such a long view is that if you then have a angle later on that is a bit further away, if you use this same animation, it's already pre-animated here. So you don't need to create a segment before it. Even though we don't see the die animating in this scene, there might be a scene where it's needed. There. And now it bounces, turns, like that, and then it comes down, Still bouncing. And then it hits the ground like that. So let's make this a bit shorter. And see what it looks like. Now you can see that the arc isn't perfect, so we'll change the ending spot of this, take this further away, and then change the ending spot of this and take it a bit further away. Now the arc looks a bit nicer. I think I like it. And that was a very quick way of also doing an animation where the dice comes from outside of the view. Now I want the dice to be pretty much here, so I just moved it and the whole segment moved. Let's go see how it looks like. And there we go. There's a die throw that comes from outside the screen, rolls a little bit and lands on a face. And then I could then reuse the animation with the Smart Objects tab by copying the animation or just copying it from this angle. And there we go. That is a way how to animate dice in two ways. There are of course several different ways, but these are two fast ways to do it, and they give a very good looking results.